Hello Guardians, welcome back. This is Right Way Gaming and I'm back doing YouTube. And one of the first videos I wanted to cover was the Last Wish raid mechanics and encounters. So the first video I'm going to do is obviously going to be the first boss, which I'm just going to call first encounter for purposes of getting their name wrong, etc. So rather than hanging about, I'm just going to go and get straight into it. But if you could hit that like button and subscribe, guys, I would really appreciate it. So make sure you do that if you enjoyed the video. So let's get started. The first mechanic to the first encounter of the Last Wish raid is the symbols around the room. Now, understanding these symbols is key throughout this entire raid, so get used to them. And this first encounter is great practice for that. So as you can see around the room, there are just various different symbols and they're always changing, so don't be afraid if you see that happen. 3 of them in the centre of the room you will see are in pairs. So you'll have one straight to the north as you walk in and you'll have 2 to your left and 2 to your right. Every one of them will be in pairs and they will match. Now these are the symbols that you are going to be looking for around the outside of the room. So if you imagine the room being split into 3 from a pie chart, that is the sort of areas that you want to be looking at. Now, how to work this is you're going to want 3 teams of 2. Now, each of those teams are going to enter the different section of that corresponding pie chart. So the top triangle, the left triangle, the right triangle, and they're going to search out for a symbol that matches one of those in the middle. There will only be 2 of each of those center symbols on the outside as well as the inside. Finding those symbols is key. There will be 2 or more symbols that do not match these symbols, and those are the ones that you want to ignore completely. Do not stand on anything near those symbols. So with the plate phase being over and done with and all 6 knights being killed, it is time to enter the DPS phase by simply grouping up in the middle of the room, and you will notice that the boss spawns on one of the 3 platforms around the outside with the 2 symbols that were in the room are being above her. Now what you will notice the minute you group up in the middle is that these beehive type like doors all around you. These are how you are going to survive the wipe phase. How? Well, I'll explain. You will DPS the boss to the point to where she raises her hands and starts to scream. When she does this, 6 of these doors should open. Now, this is where it's important that you killed the 6 knights, because these doors are what open when you kill the 6 knights. Each knight represents one of these doors. You miss a knight, you miss a door, which means one of your fire team will die. So, if you've killed all 6 knights, 6 of these doors will open. Now, it's essential that you organise your team from 1 to 6 in a number format. The way we did this was open up our roster. The person at the top was number 1, the person at the bottom was number 6. The rest were filled in, obviously, which is simple enough. Now, the way you would be given doors to each of those numbers would be the same way you'd read a book. So, for example, number 1 would be the top left, number 6 would be the bottom right. The numbers in between would simply be filled in as per reading a book. So, 2 would be the second most left on top door. Number 5 would be the second to last door to the bottom right. Now, it doesn't always work out that simple. For example, if 4 doors spawn on the top and 2 doors spawn on the bottom, that would mean that number 1 takes the left, number 2 takes the second to that left, 3 the second to that, and 4th the top right. Number 5 would take the bottom left, number 6 would take the bottom right. Another way, it would be 5 on top, 1 on bottom. That would mean that 1 to 5 take the top ones, number 6 takes the bottom one. And ideal scenario, 3 on top, 3 on bottom, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6. It's that simple. If you organise your fire team that way, there shouldn't be any confusion on the doors, and you should be able to literally get straight in there and survive the wipe phase. Now that is 1 round of the DPS phase over and done with. This will cycle through 3 times. Each time you have to find that door, which by the way will change. They do not open the same doors each and every time, but it is always the doors underneath the boss that will open, not any of the others. And once all 3 cycles are over, that is this encounter pretty much over and done with. If you haven't killed her, it will simply reset to the first mechanic of finding the symbols, standing on the plates, triggering the knights, killing the knights, entering DPS phase. It is that simple on this encounter. This encounter is so much more about coordination than anything else. It is more than possible to one phase her if you have enough DPS, but I simply suggest that you get used to the symbols, the plate mechanic, before you try doing anything like that. We enjoyed this raid so much, we did it in 7 or 8 hours on our first go, and we did not find it frustrating in one bit because it was that enjoyable. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, guys. If you did find it helpful, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to show your support. There's a lot of S's in that. And I will catch you next time, Guardians. See you out there. Okay, so now that we've got the symbols out of the way and understanding the symbols, what they look like, you're just going to have to basically figure out as a team together. There's not much you can do. There's lots of stuff online that you can use to figure out the shout outs, the names of them, but it's going to be down to your adaptability and understanding them between each member of your team. So, once you've got each member of your team, fire team I should say, on or underneath the symbols that represent the symbols in the middle of the room, you want to start the encounter by standing on the plates that are directly underneath these symbols. Now, when you do this, you will see that 2 blights, very small blights I should say, spawn on those plates. You need to stay off of those blights at all costs. You will notice that it splits it into 3 sections on the plate in a line, a form of line. So you will always have one section clear to stand on. You need to stand in that section, every guardian on your fire team. If they don't and they stay, even if it's a little toe standing in the part of the blight section, you will die. That's it, it's that simple. The minute that blight disappears, it will kill you if you're standing anywhere in that section. So make sure you're standing in that section that is clear on that platform. This will cycle 3 times. Each time the blights change in position, so you're going to have to be constantly paying attention to your plate while you're killing the ads. The ads are more of a distraction, so just focus on killing them while looking at your feet. You will notice that the floor has a very sort of taken effect on it if you're standing in the blight area. The bit that isn't got the blight on will have a very clear pattern rather than the taken effect over it. So that is one way of telling whether you're in the part you should be or you shouldn't be. So that is all you need to do. This will cycle through 3 times, as I just said. When that 3rd cycle finishes, it will spawn a knight. Now, it is essential that you kill that knight as soon as possible. Don't linger. Kill that knight. If you fail to kill the knight or fail to spawn that knight before the DPS phase, which we'll talk about in a minute, one of 2 things will happen. You'll fail to kill the knight, which means that a door will not open in the DPS phase and the wipe phase, which is essential to surviving. And an ogre will also spawn in the middle because you failed to complete that plate. Now, these things aren't detrimental. That means if you don't kill a knight, it will mean that someone on your fire team will have to wipe, but not all of you will have to wipe. But it is essential that you kill that knight, because that means all of you will enter the DPS phase, which makes this phase so much easier. That is pretty much the hardest part of this encounter over and done with. The next part is the DPS part. Now, this will trigger the minute you kill all 6 knights. Once you kill all 6 knights, you need to group up in the middle and prepare for DPS phase.